at 0520 local time. On the foredeck of an American destroyer in the Gulf of Oman, an Mk-41 launch hatch swings open, the first move against the deepest target of this war, Iranshahr Airport. To every crew member in this package, it reads like a textbook mission. But unknown to all of them, an Iranian missile battery relocated in the night. Into the one valley the whole route runs through. Its radar sits silent in the dark, waiting. And every aircraft in this strike will fly straight over it. A Tomahawk screams straight up off the destroyer's deck, riding a flame that turns the dawn water orange. Booster burnout. Stub wings snap out. An air intake pops open. A small turbofan lights, and the missile noses over toward the sea. Behind it, the next hatch is already open. Another launch, then another. Cell after cell down the foredeck until the sky is streaked with smoke trails. A mile east, a second destroyer starts its own sequence. It's 0523, minus 42 minutes. 10 missiles race down to the wave tops and form a loose stream running north for the Iranian coast. Brown mountains rise out of the haze ahead. The lead missile tears across a ridge of rock, goes feet dry, and the longest reach of this war is underway. If you look here at that first hatch on the destroyer's foredeck, you'll see the Mark 41 vertical launching system. Basically a steel revolver cylinder sunk into the deck. And what it put into the air is a Tomahawk Block V, a 20-foot robot missile launched off a ship. It cruises at 550 miles an hour, flies out past 1,000 miles, and carries a 1,000-pound warhead to a spot picked before lunch. Think of it as trip driving from Los Angeles to Phoenix, except at treetop height with nobody at the wheel. Aboard the lead destroyer, the captain watches the smoke trail bend north. 10 weapons, alone over Iran for the next 40 minutes. And from this bridge, no way to call them back and no way to warn them, no matter what wakes up under their route. 36 minutes out, the stream tightens its spacing and drops even lower, hugging the swells. The lead missile skims so low that salt spray flashes under its belly. The catch is that 550 miles an hour is slower than an airliner, and slow means time. 42 minutes to Iranshahr is 42 minutes for Iran to notice. A head start you can't afford to give, unless the rest of the strike is timed around it to the second. It is. South of the destroyers, the carrier swings into the wind and starts throwing aircraft off her bow. Super Hornets with heavy bombs, Growler electronic attack jets behind them. The strike lead checks his push time against a clock that started when that first hatch opened. No other Navy on Earth can do this. Put a coordinated precision strike deep into a hostile country before breakfast. Now watch the second destroyer's foredeck. The last hatches are closing while those jets are still climbing. And that ordering is the whole plan. This strike runs on time on target. One impact window, 30 seconds wide, that the entire package works backward from. The Tomahawks are the slowest thing, so their hatches open first. The Hornets are faster, so they hold at the tanker and push at minus 21. The bombs leave the jets 35 seconds early, their fall time from the planned 15,000-foot release. It's a surprise party where every guest leaves home at a different time, so they all ring the doorbell at once. Slip by more than a minute, and an Iranian battery gets time to line up another shot. But this is the United States Navy, so nobody slips. The Tomahawks left before the pilots finish their coffee. Timing, though, is the easy math. The strike lead's harder problem is fuel. And at minus 25, he's solving it 50 miles off a hostile coast. His probe stabs the tanker's basket on the first try, and fuel flows. If you look here at the probe locked into that basket, you'll see the only reason that this mission is possible. A Super Hornet loaded with bombs, missiles, a targeting pod, and 3 external tanks can push roughly 640 nautical miles out and still make it back to the boat. But that assumes a gentle cruise, and this mission is nothing like that. From the carrier, 200 nautical miles offshore, to Iranshahr and back is 730 nautical miles before you add the time on target hold, the low-level run across the airfield, the afterburner it takes to beat a missile, and the reserve fuel every carrier landing demands. The margin is gone, so the gas comes along. The KC-135 Stratotanker orbit gets pushed inside Iran's threat ring, like driving cross-country, where the only gas station is the one you tow behind you. Yesterday, Iran's coastal belt could reach that orbit. Bavar 373 batteries with shots out to 186 miles, until 2 days of American strikes on more than 80 targets tore that belt apart. What those earlier waves couldn't buy is a picture of anything that moved last night. Up front, the Tomahawks are navigating by something older than any satellite, the mountains themselves. Deep in the Makran range, a Tomahawk banks between walls of rock that rise above its own altitude. Then, mid-valley, it snaps a few degrees onto a new heading. Nobody sent that correction. The missile just fixed its own navigation against the mountains trying to hide it. See that small antenna on the missile's belly as it skims the ridgeline? This is the radar altimeter, and it made that correction. Between fixes, the Tomahawk flies its own inertial system alone. And inertial systems drift half a nautical mile for every hour of flight, toward 2,000 feet over this trip, on a missile that has to arrive within tens of feet. So the route passes through update gates, where the altimeter reads the ground rolling by and matches its rise and fall against a terrain map loaded before launch. That's TERCOM, terrain contour matching. The match only locks where the ground varies. Flat desert is a blank page, no fix. The Makran ridges vary by hundreds of feet, so the fix locks in one pass and the drift resets. An optical scene matcher near the airfield sharpens the final answer to 30 feet. It's essentially recognizing your own street by the shape of the rooftops. No street signs required. So the route doglegs through the mountains instead of running straight. 380 miles flown instead of 330. 5.5 extra minutes at cruise. Iran's terrain is doing the U.S. Navy's navigation and hiding the stream at the same time. Lucky Iran didn't try to charge for the mountain's transit. Otherwise, they would be also gone. West of the corridor, an Iranian early warning crew is on its third day without real sleep. This morning, their radar gives them flickers. A return, then nothing. Another return, then nothing. Look at the early warning radar on that hilltop, and you'll see the problem. Radar can't see over the curve of the Earth or through rock. Put that antenna on a 300-foot mast and hunt a Tomahawk at 100 feet. And even over a flat world, the limit is 34 nautical miles. The Makran is anything but flat, and each ridgeline carves the coverage into fragments. When the stream crosses a 4-mile open valley mouth, it's visible for only 26 seconds. An antenna turning once every 10 seconds paints it twice. The software wants 3 solid hits out of 5 sweeps, then several more to build a heading. The better part of a minute of coverage the valleys never grant. This crew is watching traffic through a fence, slivers between the boards, never the whole car. Physics doesn't grade effort. But the flickers keep converging on one valley along the route to Iranshahr, the valley that gained a tenant overnight. The radar begins its turn. At 0554, minus 21, the exact minute the Hornets push, that turning radar starts screaming energy into the corridor. One clean, deliberate sweep washes out from a valley that was empty on yesterday's imagery. Radar warning receivers across the package light up and howl. In the lead Hornet, the strike lead has one decision and 5 seconds to make it. Hold the push and shatter the timeline, or press and trust the package. He presses. The Iranian battery commander earned this moment. He watched what happened to every battery that transmitted this week, so he kept his radar cold all night. He gave the march order at 0200, rolled 20 miles of dark road, and set up in the new valley. If you look here at the battery's launcher vehicle, missiles tilting off the truck bed, you'll see the one thing American planning can't fully solve. This is the third Khordad, an Iranian medium-range air defense system built around mobile radar and launcher trucks. Its missiles reach roughly 45 miles, climb above 80,000 feet, and throw a fragmentation warhead into an aircraft's path at better than 4 times the speed of sound. But hardware isn't the problem. The problem is that this battery moves faster than intelligence. The target list is built from photos taken the evening before, and by the time they're processed into strike orders, they're 6 to 12 hours old at impact. The plan is a photograph of the past. A mobile battery beats that clock. 15 minutes to pack up, 40 for the road move, 30 more to level the vehicles and run the cables. With the radar cold the whole way, American signals intelligence had nothing to intercept. It's a carnival shell game where the shells get shuffled after you've placed your bet. One problem matters now: a live missile battery under the corridor, minutes from a clean shot. The American answer has been airborne all along, listening since the battery's first sweep. 2 Growlers, Super Hornets rebuilt to fight with radio noise instead of bombs. Turn toward the threat and pour that noise at it. Then, under one Growler's wing, a missile rips off the rail. It drops for half a second, then the motor screams alive and the weapon vanishes past twice the speed of sound. Nose on the source of that signal. Minus 19. Keep your eye on the missile clearing that pylon. That's the AGM-88E AARGM, Advanced Radiation Guided Missile. and it exists to punish radar operators for doing their jobs. Fired from about 30 nautical miles, it tears down range at better than Mach 2 and arrives in roughly 90 seconds with a 150-pound blast fragmentation warhead. Its passive seeker listens for the radar the way you would listen for breathing in a dark house. Every extra second the Iranian radar transmits tightens the missile's memory of that location. In the final miles, AARGM wakes its own millimeter wave radar and searches that patch of ground for launcher-shaped metal. Turn the radar on, and the Americans see you. Turn it off too late, and the missile still remembers where you were. In the valley, the commander runs the same math. Fast, radar down, crew to cover. The signal vanishes, the coordinate freezes while it's still sloppy, and the warhead churns up an empty stretch of hillside. The most one-sided argument of the morning, and nobody says a word. Now watch the jamming pods under the Growler's wings. The noise was never going to protect the package the whole way in. The pod's noise travels one way to the Iranian radar, so it weakens with the square of the distance. The radar's own echo travels out and back, so it weakens with the fourth power. As the jets close the range, the real echo climbs faster than the noise, and somewhere ahead of them was a line in the sky where the jamming would stop working, what crews call burn-through. Drowning out a conversation from across a room is easy. It's impossible once the talkers walk right up to you. Outside that line, the noise denied the battery a clean shot long enough for the AARGM to work. Inside it, only a dark radar is safe, and this one just went dark for good. The corridor is open, but the battery is alive, silent and intact, parked on the route home. Something smaller waits closer to the airfield, and the terrain is about to hand it its window. Near the final ridgeline before the Iranshahr plain, a short-range air defense position catches the Tomahawk stream in the open. It fires. One shot, professional and clean. A Tomahawk takes the hit and tumbles into the rocks in pieces. Before the crew can line up a second shot, the 9 survivors are gone behind the terrain. 9 minutes out. Watch the surviving missiles slide behind the next ridge, and you'll see why that one shot was the whole battle. It came from a Tor-M1, NATO named SA-15 Gauntlet, a Russian-built short-range air defense system Iran bought to swat low-flying aircraft and cruise missiles. One tracked vehicle carries search radar on top, fire control radar in the front, and 8 9M331 missiles that scream past Mach 2 with fragmentation warheads out to roughly 7 miles. The fire control radar watches the target and the missile together, then radios steering commands all the way in, like a spotter walking a quarterback's throw onto a receiver he can barely see. A small, low target emerges from terrain 14 miles out, 90 seconds of visibility at cruise speed, and the crew has to spot it, identify it, swing the launcher, and fire. One shot per pass. It's like snapping a photo of a race car from the grandstand. One frame before it's gone, and this crew nailed theirs. The stream just lost one weapon, and it changes nothing, because the answer was baked into the salvo math from day one. The fixed targets break down to 6 Tomahawk aim points, 3 runway intersections, 1 terminal, 2 support buildings, plus 4 launcher positions reserved for the jet's bombs. 2 Tomahawks went on each runway intersection, because a half-cut runway isn't cut, and 1 each on the terminal and support buildings. The planners assumed 10% losses to point defenses and a few percent simple failures. 1.5 weapons out of 10 written off before the first hatch opened. It's like buying a few extra screws at the hardware store because one always strips out. The Tor's perfect shot just spent that spare. Every aim point still holds its weapon, and the runway cuts keep their doubled coverage. The Iranian gunner's perfect shot was budgeted in a Navy spreadsheet months before he fired it. It has no sting. 6 minutes to impact. Every aim point covered. This is how the United States closes an airport deep inside Iran without losing a single aircraft. Then the airfield's last line of defense switches on. It isn't a missile, and it isn't a gun. It's aimed at the weapons themselves. The Hornets are inbound at 15,000 feet when an antenna array on the airfield starts screaming into the sky. It isn't attacking the jets. It's attacking the signal from the satellites above them. GPS, the global positioning system, basically a Google map pin from space, arrives at military receivers as a whisper. This jammer is a bullhorn standing next door, drowning out the coordinates the strike is built around. In the lead Hornet, the strike lead sees the problem instantly. He runs the drift numbers, keys 2 words to the flight, and pushes the nose over. Go low. -4. The whole flight dives with him, trading away altitude no pilot wants to give up. The airfield grows in the windscreen. Shoulder-fired missiles are down there. Concrete. Antennas, fuel trucks, launchers, all of it rising toward them because the jammer just forced American pilots to do the dangerous thing by hand. The Hornets level off low, and low puts them inside the reach of the cheapest weapon on this airfield, a missile a man can carry on his shoulder. 3 clocks are running at once. The GPS jammer is adding drift to every second of bomb flight. The MANPADS teams below need one clean tailpipe angle. And behind the package, the 3rd Khordad battery only has to survive long enough to threaten the exit route. This is the worst minute of the mission. Now the Hornets roll on in the launchers, down into the reach of every short-range weapon they were trying to stay above. By the perimeter, a 2-man team in sandals crouches beside a wall, a launch tube on one shoulder, seeker cooled, waiting for the pull-off. Bombs off the lead Hornet, the jet pulls, launch. A thin smoke trail screams from the perimeter, but flares are already blooming behind the jet, and the strike lead snaps into a crushing turn. The missile takes the bait and detonates on nothing. If you look here at the flare dispensers on the Hornet's fuselage, you'll see the winner of a duel decided before the trigger was pulled. That missile is a Misog 2, Iran's copy of the Chinese QW-1M, a MANPADS, or Man-Portable Air Defense System. It reaches about 3.5 miles, screams near Mach 2.9, and carries a small fragmentation warhead guided by a cooled infrared seeker. That seeker locks on the hottest thing in its tiny view, and from behind a fighter, the hottest thing is the tailpipe. The Hornet cheats the picture. Flares bloom before the pull-off, hotter and closer than the jet, while the pilot breaks into a 5G turn that drags the exhaust out of the seeker's cone. It's throwing a decoy stake to the dog chasing you, then jumping the fence at 90 degrees. The dog gets the stake, but the jet gets to go home. Behind the maneuvering jets, the bombs fall for only seconds. They're JDAMs, Joint Direct Attack Munitions, bolt-on tail kits that turn standard bombs into coordinate hunting weapons. The common GBU-38 weighs 500 pounds, carries a 192-pound high-explosive Mk-82 warhead, glides several miles depending on release speed, and normally lands within about 16 feet. When jamming buries the GPS signal, the inertial backup keeps a dead reckoning notebook. Short fall, tiny error. Long fall, bad day. That's why the strike lead dove. Through the strike lead's entire break, the sensor head under his forehead fuselage swivels against the jet's own motion, locked onto the launcher positions below. See that pod bolted on the Hornet's cheek station? It's the ATFLIR, the Advanced Targeting Forward-Looking Infrared Pod. Think of it as a stabilized heat camera in a rifle scope. Its detector is chilled so its own heat doesn't blind it. Then it reads the 3 to 5 micron infrared band where the dawn haze and desert dust interfere far less. Thin metal launchers warm quickly after sunrise. Thick concrete stays cold. The pod turns that difference into bright shapes on a dark field and identifies a launcher from release range. The detector reads heat as brightness, not color, which is why the world is about to see this strike in monochrome. The weapon's eye and the Pentagon's proof are the same instrument. Bombs in the air, missiles seconds out. Every clock this package has been racing since that first hatch opened at 0520 is converging on the same 30 seconds of sky. Then the clock touches 0605 and the Tomahawks arrive to the second. The first one pitches over onto a runway intersection and buries itself through the slab. Nothing. A heartbeat. Then the concrete heaves upward, a crater with raised, shattered lips where the pavement used to be. That first warhead just showed you the difference between damaging a runway and closing one. You don't shred 8,000 feet of concrete, you cut it. That pause was a delayed fuse, letting the warhead punch through before detonating underneath, so the blast heaves the pavement instead of scarring it. Heave damage means excavation and repour. Days of repair instead of hours with a patch crew. And the craters land at intersections, spaced so no unbroken stretch of pavement is longer than a fighter's minimum takeoff roll. 3,000 feet. It's like cutting a board. 3 cuts, and no piece left is long enough to use. The remaining intersections erupt in sequence. Another Tomahawk takes the terminal. 2 more, the support buildings. And inside the same window, the JDAMs walk onto the launcher positions. 4 dispersed vehicles disappearing in overlapping hits. 4 aim points, 4 columns of smoke. All 9 surviving Tomahawks and every bomb inside 60 seconds. And Iranshahr stops being an airport and starts being a construction project. Through the ATFLIR, these are the frames the world is about to see. The bill is brutal in the best possible way. Roughly $18 million in Tomahawks and a handful of JDAM kits have just erased the use of a hardened inland airfield for less than one-third the price of a single new Super Hornet, and without putting one American aircraft over a runway itself. Iranian concrete did not lose to luck. It lost to American math. The strike package runs out low and fast, and the strike lead swings his flight deliberately wide of the silent battery's ring. The Iranian commander never dares to switch his radar on again, not with Growlers still airborne and another AARGM on the rail. His battery survives intact, which makes its off switch the most effective piece of equipment Iran will operate all day. The Hornets find the tanker, take on gas, and go feet wet, leaving one thing behind on that airfield that proves the strike was never about wreckage. The final image is the part Tehran cannot explain away. Cratered runway, wrecked terminal, 4 burning launchers, and a row of parked aircraft on the north apron, untouched. That's not luck, that's the message. Because the Navy never needed to destroy every aircraft at Iranshahr. It did something colder. It left them alive on a runway they can no longer use. So here's the question Tehran has to sit with tonight. If the deepest airfield in the country is not out of reach, what is? If you enjoyed this video, then watch what the US Navy did to Iran's Navy. Bye for now.